Investigate the origins of COVID-19, including a theory that it was created in a lab in Wuhan, China. But the question never came up on Sunday when Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared on one of the Sunday talk shows. My next guest caught the oversight, tweeting this. Dr. Fauci was just on Meet the Press, and Chuck Todd didn't ask him a single question about the origin of the disease and whether U.S. tax dollars went to gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, Congressman Mike Gallagher with me now, member of the House China Task Force. Sir, good morning to you, and thank you for your time here. I guess, to summarize, if we want to prevent this from happening in the future, we have to know how in the heck it happened in the first place. Go ahead.
That's the key point. It's not about assigning blame to any particular individual. It's about ensuring that something like this never happens again. A global pandemic that's completely upended all of our lives, and yet the media seems thoroughly uninterested in getting to the bottom of it. And since the start of the pandemic, the media has had Dr. Fauci on TV every single week. They've deified him, but they've demonized anyone else like me who suggested that the lab leak hypothesis, and all it is a hypothesis with increasing evidence to support it, should be investigated. They refuse to ask Fauci the most basic questions about why we aren't fully investigating the origin of the disease, and in particular, whether U.S. taxpayer dollars went to support this type of dangerous research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The other thing is that even if it wasn't U.S. taxpayer money, we still need to know what was going on in the labs. The Biden administration needs to release the underlying intelligence. Don't tell us you're looking into it. They're sitting on a pile of intelligence. Show us the intel. Secretary of State Blinken needs to commit to full transparency. We need to tell Congress and the American people what happened here. Why do they not want to look into the lab leak hypothesis? It's mystifying to me, but Congress needs to apply increasing pressure here.
I appreciate the effort you're putting forth here. But with the communist Chinese government keeping us out of Wuhan, or the World Health Organization keeping them out of Wuhan for a year, who's to say we'll ever know?
Well, it is a problem. I mean, of course, the Chinese Communist Party vetoed the American researchers that the previous administration nominated to be on the investigative team. And instead, they installed Dr. Peter Daszak, who has a clear conflict of interest. He has gotten National Institute of Health taxpayer funding in order to support cooperative research with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet he is the American on the investigating team. That makes absolutely no sense. It's like asking Bernie Madoff to investigate financial fraud. So clearly, we need to apply pressure to the WHO. But even the head of the WHO, Dr. Tedros, contradicted the initial investigation of the WHO, which is unprecedented as far as I can tell, and said, no, we actually have to examine the lab leak hypothesis. Again, I'm not trying to make this a partisan thing. Every American, Democrat, Republican, Independent, has been affected by this pandemic. It's destroyed the global economy. Shouldn't we all want to get to the bottom of this?
Two quick points here. You mentioned Congress has got to push for it. I hear you. I don't know about the rest of Congress pushing this ball forward to try and figure out answers. How much money did the U.S. government provide that lab in Wuhan over the years?
Based on excellent reporting by Josh Rogin, which is detailed in his new book, Chaos Under Heaven, about $200 million of American money went towards this type of funding for gain-of-function research. But that's another thing. The National Institute of Health and the NIAID, which is led by Dr. Fauci, and Dr. Fauci is sort of the main person who leads all of this type of research. In 2011, he wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post arguing for continuing this research, even though it was risky, even though the Obama administration eventually shut down this type of research. They should open up their books.
Yeah,
they should completely open up their books. We don't want to spend another $1 billion on this, which is what's being proposed now.
You mentioned Rogan's piece in the Washington Post. Just to put a fine point on this, the virus's origin remains a mystery, he writes, imperiling chances of preventing the next pandemic. We'll leave that point there. Mike Gallagher, thank you. Come back soon.
Excellent backdrop.
Thank you, sir.